Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
Plug you in, my tuning up frequency. Jett and the crew, they got the remedy. Discussing bats and all his legacy. Mike is silent. Welcome to the social hour. We're talking gospel, flying power. Look in the field, the protest got the keys to the Batmobile. Lights go down the shuts about the start. Jeff's listen, sucking like a dog. We're down the ways of hard. We're in deep, not sleep. Welcome to the social hour. Exploring Gotham's darkest hours. Tune in, feel the charge. Jett set the hill with going large.
Welcome to the Social Hour, a Batman on Film podcast, batman-on-film.com. Yeah, Batman on Film, the Social Hour, episode 207. Garret, Grev, let's ride.
Let's ride. I've
ride.
been hearing the let's ride, and I haven't had a chance to say it in a while, so it feels good.
Yes, Garret Grev is back, who, fresh off another podcast, did the Superman Roundtable on the original Batman on Film podcast. That was a good show.
Wow,
with the
thank
boys. And I am merely Bill Ramey, the founder of Batman on Film. And so we're going to get back to Batman on Film, as you would think, because the Batman Part 2 will be heating up here over the course of the next several months. But before we do that, Garret, one last thing on Superman here at Batman on Film.
And maybe not even. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the whole show. At the end, we came up with about 6 and 7 different topics we didn't get into, and the guys said they wanted to get together for a part 2. So then I feel like we're really stringing the listeners along. And no. Now this is the final word on Superman.
Well, I'll put it this way: it's the final word on the Social Hour.
Sure, there you go.
Okay, all right, maybe.
Unless you decide, hey, editor-in-chief, you get to change your mind whenever you
want. I know
that
y'all kind of did this, but real quick, rank your top 5 live-action solo Superman films. So we're going to eliminate Justice League. We eliminate BVS.
BVS, sure.
Okay, let's start. Let it start at number 5, and let you go first.
At number 5, I think I have to go Superman Returns.
Okay.
2006, Brandon Routh.
Okay. And
Singer. Yeah.
Real quick, just give us, let the people know your thoughts on it.
I thought it was ambitious. I thought it was beautifully filmed. You could tell there was a lot of care that went into the look and design and what Singer wanted to do. The problem was he was too busy trying to make a Richard Donner Superman movie instead of a Superman movie. And there are some story elements that absolutely did not belong in a Superman film. The 5-year absence was silly. The illegitimate kid was silly. The super stalking was silly. Bosworth did a fine job. She was miscast as Lois.
Yes.
Brandon Routh had too flat of material, or at least too flat of a portrayal that Singer guided him towards.
Yeah.
Spacey was more than adequate as Lex. And as I said, it looked really nice. There's some, beautifully designed shots and production designs in that movie.
It is also my number 5. I think at one time I would have ranked it higher, and it was because there, as much of a fan as I am of Superman the movie, Superman 78, however we want to refer to it. I like the homage factor.
Yeah.
But it's Superman the movie almost redone.
It
in a
does.
way.
It
The
has a
story
lot of the
beats,
same
you
beats,
know.
a lot of
Yeah,
the same beats, and the things that are new and different are the things that I dislike the most.
yeah,
But nostalgia is a hell of a drug. I can
yeah,
get into it.
yeah,
I'll touch on that more in a couple of my other selections.
yeah. And it's I will say this: the space shuttle scene, action scene, that's one of the best
Yeah.
Superman action
Oh,
scenes in cinema,
for
in
sure.
my opinion. You
Yeah,
know.
it's great, and it sort of harkens back to a key scene when Superman meets Lois for the first
Mm-hmm.
time in the Man of Steel 1986 series, and also to 78, the movie, and the helicopter, obviously,
Helicopter. Yeah,
which I
yeah,
think Man of Steel was kind of pointing backwards to when Byrne
yeah,
wrote that. So that sort of um, homage I thought was really well done. That scene actually was a survival piece from a number of the scripts that were written between Quest for Peace and
yeah,
Superman Lives, Superman Reborn, what all the different
yeah, yeah,
different Flyby. I think that scene was in
yeah,
Flyby. So yeah, I mean, listen, it's boring and it's got some weird stuff in it, but man, is it pretty. And I think Ralph was well cast. Just
yeah.
didn't quite hit on all the elements it needed to for me.
Did he get screwed over as much as Cavill?
Sim, I mean, probably not as much for reasons. I mean, we're going to talk about James Gunn and his podcast appearance. I think in so much as director made a choice that didn't resonate in the story he wanted to tell with a very well cast actor that was set up to do even better in a sequel that ultimately never happened. Yeah. I think Cavill got jerked around a little bit more with thanks to some of that's on his own
Yeah,
shoulders with the involvement with The Rock, which Gunn also talked about in this podcast we're going to talk
yeah,
about. Um, but I think sort of the rug getting pulled out from underneath Cavill after thought he thought he was back probably puts
yeah,
Cavill ahead of Routh. But just in terms of, hey, pretty good sequel or pretty good movie that likely would have benefited from a sequel, a true sequel. Yeah, I think both those guys had more in the tank than what we got.
yeah. I would say I agree with that, and we'll get to number four here. I will say that, and I've said it ad nauseum on here in this space on BOF proper on the Facebook group, that the fact that them not making a true Superman sequel to Man of Steel and going with BBS was really, that was like the end of Cavill before it even
Yeah,
began in a way,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. I unfortunately, um, I know there might be some BOF hate listeners out there still. I think just sticking with Super or Snyder with Man of Steel, I think getting him
Yes.
into the role
Yeah.
that they put him in, as opposed to, hey,
Yes.
thanks for this Man of Steel movie.
And you know what? That's not
We're in,
Snyder's fault. That's
no,
Warner
it's
Brothers'
not. It is
fault.
Warner Brothers'
Yeah.
fault. That was a bad decision because even, the we'll touch on Man of Steel. And maybe I'll save my thoughts for when we get there. But a standalone sequel by a different director for me would have been
Okay.
great.
All right. I'm with you. All right. Number four. Go ahead.
Number four, this is where the nostalgia drug kicks in, but I stand by it. Superman 2, not the Donner cut. Richard Lester's Superman 2.
Okay.
Yes, it's
Okay.
goofy. Yes, it's slapstick. Yes, there's some really odd elements in it, like the cellophane shield and the Superman, projector or clone, hologram thing.
Yeah.
A lot of silly stuff in the Fortress of Solitude. Lex's involvement in the movie was unnecessary and didn't really serve a point, but you had to have Gene Hackman back in there after Superman the
Well, yeah.
movie or
Because,
78.
yeah. And he filmed a lot of it. They
Oh
filmed
yeah,
the movies
exactly.
simultaneously. So, yeah.
But not Richard Donner. The Donner cut for some reason, and it's made a resurgence with I'll just straight up say it, people pretending to love it and pretending that it's a good movie on the social medias lately because it's obviously been in vogue to talk about Superman. It is not a good movie. It's not a finished
No.
movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't work as a sequel. It's not edited well. Obviously, the special effects aren't finished. It's kind of a neat Easter egg for those of us that have heard about, Donner and what happened in the production of Superman and
Mm-hmm.
Superman
Mm-hmm.
2. I'm glad it exists. It in no way in my mind is a superior version whatsoever, and it really blows my mind anytime anybody says it is. Literally reuses the ending of Superman 1 and Superman 2, like
Yes.
standalone Weird Elseworld story. Yeah, fine, but it's unfinished and it's edited weird, and there's test
Yeah.
footage in
Test
places screen.
footage. Yeah.
It's just not good. It's fun
Yeah.
that it exists. It's not good. So
Yeah.
Lester's is my fourth.
Yes. My number four is Man of Steel.
Okay. Yeah.
I always say I kind of borderline love it. I will say that with the new Superman movie coming out, that may not be an accurate assessment of my feelings towards Man of Steel
Because
anymore.
yeah, you said some similar things about Superman, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But it's I like the premise and the story a whole lot. You know, what if
yeah,
Superman showed
yeah,
up here?
yeah.
And there's a little bit of like, if they had just, if
Its
Superman
tone.
still had the, if he was depicted like he was in Superman 78 or Superman 2025,
I'm with you.
and the story is, I love the story, you know, how people would react. And I like the whole thing with Zod and, you know, and all this. And then, but it's gone down a notch after Superman. But I still think it's a really, you feel the Nolan in it. You know, I know
Yeah,
Snyder directed it, and then some of the choices in it that aren't something that I'm not on. I don't. It doesn't jive with me when it comes to Superman. That's more the Snyder stuff. But I think, you know, you can tell
yeah.
it's a Goyer and
Goyer. I was gonna
Nolan.
say
Yeah.
there. It's tough for me to use the term off the hook with Goyer because I don't think it's a bad movie. And well, I'll get into it. It's my number three. So like I like it. I like it
Okay, let's
as
go. Keep going. That's your
yeah,
number three. Let's go.
I
Yeah.
like it as a movie more than I like it as a Superman movie.
Yeah.
I think it's a really well done first contact movie. I think if this was a generic superpowered being that landed on Earth, that wasn't supposed to be Superman and didn't come with, I don't want to say the baggage, but you know, the cultural understanding of who Superman is, I think it would be much better for that. And I think there's some things that audiences had a hard time with because it's Superman. Now you can say, oh, well, you're being, you know, reductive or limiting in what a
Mm-hmm.
creator can do. These are commercial popcorn movies.
Yeah.
This is not art house niche cinema where
Yeah.
auteurs should have free reign to create as they see fit. This is a movie for profit. This is a comic book IP. This is more than a comic book IP. This is an iconic IP. And with that comes limitations. And if you want to cash the check, you got to understand those limitations.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where Man of Steel set us up was exactly where I wanted to see Superman
I
go.
I was about to say, didn't it just tee up a perfect,
It really did. It
a
really
chance
did.
for a perfect Superman sequel?
Which was the heartbreaking
Yeah.
for me disaster of what
I'm with you.
that's
I'm
turned
with
into.
you.
Because
I'm with you.
they had a great they had an incredibly well casted actor. They had a movie that was successful.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe didn't meet all the expectations, but it polarized the audiences. You know, opening day uh, fans that ran out to see it gave
Mm-hmm.
it an A- cinema score, but then the general public was not in agreement
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you could have, with a proper sequel, Man of Steel might be way up there. Well, Superman 25 maybe
Yeah.
likely never would have happened.
Yeah.
And I think the assessment of Man of Steel would be very different if they
Yeah.
had a more
It was
traditional.
it was set up.
Yeah, it was
It was
all
set
right
up.
there
You know,
for him.
that welcome to the planet is a great, it's a great line.
It
It
would
was
have been
right there.
fantastic.
It's right
And
there.
people make fun of this, but I've stood by it ever since he was in the running for the director chair before Snyder got it. If they would have handed a Superman sequel to Michael Bay at that point, I think we would
Yeah.
be living in a different world.
I
Americana,
That's
bright,
fair,
hope,
and
action, adventure.
I don't disagree. Um, Number three. It was your
Mine's
you're on
Man
number
of
three.
Steel.
Yours,
Yep,
Man
mine
of
was Man of
Steel.
Steel.
Okay, we combined that. Okay, my number three It's a new Superman movie, Superman
No,
2025.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the number three, I've talked about it. I did a review. I liked it a lot. I loved Crypto.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, on my desk right here now.
Yeah, you
I
got him
got
right there.
Crypto.
You,
Um,
I think you might be in the running for world's biggest crypto fan at this point.
I possibly. I think that was James Gunn. I believe he said he didn't. They asked him about Superman once before. He turned it down because he didn't have a way into it. And he
Yeah.
said this one was Crypto was his way into it.
Yeah. Well,
The
he
best
had
is
an
it.
idea for essentially a
Yeah,
crypto standalone movie where Superman would have been in it from the way he described it, what I pictured,
yeah,
about as much as crypto was in Superman's movie.
yeah. And
You
it's
just sort of shifted the focus.
I'm all for that. I'm going the
I
record by saying
I
that.
think the audience is too. It's been a
Um,
big hit. When I brought my
it
boys,
yeah,
my 10-year-old in particular, when crypto attacks Lex after Lex has given his big monologue,
yeah,
towards in the third uh in the last third of the movie. He was just wriggling in his seat, smiling, kicking his legs. He just loved crypto taking Lex out so much, and yeah, I think it could work. I think it could work.
yeah. It's that was like of all the decisions he made, that might have been number one to include Crypto because it just allowed it. It was a door that opened up a a a wide ranging audience. Does that make
Well, but
sense?
it also, from a storytelling standpoint, it opens up
Yeah,
the universe that these movies take place in. This is
yeah,
not our universe. This is the DC universe.
yeah,
This isn't what every other Superman movie has been to this point, which is a movie that largely takes place in a world, our world, or a world just like ours, and a fantastical element that is Superman or Krypton gets introduced. This is not that. This isn't our
yeah,
world. This is the wacky zany DC world. And when you open up with a superpowered dog wearing a little cape, dragging our superhero to this ice castle, and like immediately
and
oh, they're doing a
yeah,
different thing here
and I
than
will
they've
say,
done in the other
but
movies.
it didn't come off goofy.
No, it
Not
didn't. It
Crypto.
didn't.
Crypto did not come off goofy at all.
No, crypto came through more earnest than even Superman robots. Superman
Yeah,
robots were kind of tongue in cheek,
yeah,
snarky, Alan Tudyk dry humor,
yeah,
kind of little C3PO sass, right? Like
yeah,
that
yes,
that that came off more intentionally humorous than they
yeah,
ever played Crypto, outside of Crypto chasing the super squirrels, and the squirrels also had little red capes on it because of
yeah,
course a super dog with a cape is going to want to chase super squirrels with capes. That
yeah,
was cute and funny on purpose.
yes. I just to finish up with my thoughts on it. I thought that David Cornsweet was a very he's a really damn good Superman.
Yeah, he's
I
really
put
good.
he's number two on my list after
Yeah,
Reeves,
mine too.
and I thought the cast was great, and then I have my own issues with it. I think you could still have this movie without it being. It could have been a Superman only film, even with Supergirl in it. Supergirl's a Superman character. That's fine, but nothing in it, even with my personal biases and whatever, made me not like it. I thought it was a cute, well done, fun movie, and want to see more Rachel Brosnahan as Lois. Next, I wish they had a little bit more Lois and Clark. I love the scene, the interview scene,
Yeah.
and looking forward to where they go. I hope, Garrett. I hope. I know Gunn has said, is it a true Superman sequel? Well, maybe, kind of, sort of. I don't kind of want to say learn from BVS. I want to see
Yeah.
more. I want to see something we
Well,
haven't seen before.
and
I like to see Brainiac or whatever.
yeah, and he spoke to that, right? We're not getting World's Finest. We're not getting BVS. I would be very surprised if we jumped into a Justice League movie, but he
Yeah,
said there's a lot more Superman to come. I hope, even if it's not the next immediate thing, Superman appears, and we know it won't be. He surely is going to be in Supergirl next summer.
yeah,
Um, I hope they do a true standalone Superman movie.
yeah,
Like that's just something that we haven't
yeah.
gotten in a long time, and people have pressed him on. Like people, I think he's been made acutely aware of
Okay,
the fact that
good,
people want a Superman sequel.
good. I'm one of them. Are
Yeah,
you
me too.
surprised? Are Are you surprised I liked it as much as I
I'm
said I
not.
did?
What I'm really glad, Bill, is I thought for a while there, I'm like, God darn it, Bill's just gonna talk himself into not liking this movie, and then it's gonna be like in fantasy football, there's a term, take lock, where you're
Yeah.
just stuck on that. And I was really glad that one, it was good enough that you couldn't even allow yourself to stay in, and you never said you were against it, right? You had some
No, never.
concerns.
Yeah.
Um, at no point did I ever feel like you were rooting for it to fail, but you definitely had some quibbles and some concerns with some of the stuff you're seeing, and I'm really glad it won you over. Now, I don't watch a lot of horror, so I can't say I've seen every
Yeah.
James Gunn movie because I'm not Ryan Lauer. I don't get into the spooky stuff
Yeah.
or the gruesome stuff. That's Indiana versus Minnesota. Minnesota were just
Yeah.
too nice for all that.
Okay.
Um, but it's I've seen a lot of James Gunn movies, and I
Hmm.
think he's very, very good. I think he's a smart writer. He's a smart director. He's got a great eye for talent. I figured this was going to be good. I just if it's too far off someone's sensibilities, that's not always enough. Being good isn't enough to
Yeah.
overcome that.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to more of this Superman. I'll say that. I wore a damn crypto shirt
I saw
to
the
the
pictures.
I wore a crypto shirt, bro.
I
Okay.
saw the pictures.
All right.
I was looking everywhere for my Superman hat and I couldn't find it in time. I had to
I
run
got,
out.
like I said, I bought, uh, I got the crypto McFarlane. It's actually, I got the Superman with crypto and I took crypto out of the box because I wanted him on my desk.
Just hanging out
and,
with you.
and still got, David Corn Sweat boxed up, but
Oh, you love him a lot, even though he's not a
yeah.
very good dog.
And yeah,
Yeah.
yes, that's all right. All right.
Well, we're going
Where
into
we at?
my number
Yeah.
two, and
Yeah.
it's Superman 2025.
Okay.
It's up to
Anything you
number
want to add to anything you want to add to it that we haven't already said?
Brosnahan's immediately my favorite, lowest ever in on live action, big screen movies. Corn
Even over
Sweat.
Margot Kidder, really.
Yeah. Yeah. There was
I
something
have a
even as
crush
a
on her. I have a crush on Rachel Brosnahan.
oh yeah, I can see that.
I
She's
I
a
watched
spitfire.
I watched the marvelous Mrs. Maisel with the other Rachel, the
Right?
announcer, and I think she's very talented.
She's super talented. Yep,
Yeah.
she's sharp, great line delivery. Yeah, she jumped Margot Kidder for me. Even as a kid, I didn't really. I was like, Super Lois seems kind of weird in these, and I'd watch those religiously as a
Yeah.
kid. And Skylar Giassando, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I got that close to right. Peter's Italian. He'll correct
I
me.
asked Pete. I said, Say me the last name for me. It's your people." And he goes, I would if I could." I'm like, "What? What kind of
Yeah,
Italian are you, man?
come
From
on.
Jersey? What
How
the
many
hell's
you
going
gotta
on
he's
here?"
got to know like 50 dudes in the old country,
Yeah.
with the same name that he's got
Yeah.
close relations to still. But that he best on screen Jimmy, I think pretty
100%.
easily. I
You
just
know
thought it
what?
was really, really well done. And I loved the fact that what I so very much miss, and I was worried, and we get a view of a different audience and a different style of fandom
Yeah.
online. And when people were all, a vocal minority were upset about Cavill not continuing
Hmm.
or how much they liked Snyder's take on Superman, I'm like, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, I don't think you actually like Superman. I
Yeah.
think you like the idea Superman's an icon and you like super powerful, tough guys that beat
Hmm.
stuff up. But that's not like you're missing a lot of what Superman is. Like you're missing the compassion and the kindness and the hope and the empathy and the inspiration and this you do the right thing based on what your own moral call is. And the script with Man of Steel just messed everything up with in particular Pa Kent right away because what I
Hmm.
loved about this is Pa Kent, I've had this conversation with Chris Clow before. Pa Kent is likely the most impactful character in the entire DC universe of all the different worlds, of all the
Hmm.
different realities, because it's Pa Kent who instills the morality in
Hmm.
Clark that helps him grow into Superman.
Hmm.
And the morality that Superman carries inspires countless heroes in the DC Earth, all the way up to the future when he goes in the future and effectively founds Legion, out through the different multiverses, and you can trace it all back to the way Pa Kent raised
Mhm.
Clark.
Mhm.
And like I was like, no, Superman cannot morph into this other thing. That's not who he is. I don't want that to happen. And this movie was like good people who feel the need to try to be good and help others be good and do the right thing regardless of
Mhm.
consequences out of
Mhm.
kindness and compassion, but with the strength that you would need to use to do those things. Like that's Superman. I loved it. I loved it.
I didn't have an issue. I don't know where they're going to go with the Jor-El thing,
Yeah,
but
that wasn't my favorite.
it doesn't bother me because to me, my interpretation, and yes, we're going to get to Batman here.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. I haven't talked to Garret about this yet, about this Superman. Um, to me, it was even though if Jor-El did send him here to rule Earth and all that, it it shows how he was raised as a human
Yeah. Yeah.
was was more important into who he became as a man than his Kryptonian upbringing with all that with all these superpowers.
For
You know,
sure. For sure.
that
He wasn't a
does that make sense?
predestined hero, right?
Yeah,
He didn't come in preformed to be this person. It was his experiences growing up, as
yeah,
a human, an American, whatever. A son of Ma and Pa Kent that turned him who he is. Gunn's doing it was fine for me. It's not my
yeah,
favorite. Anybody who's been listening to me for however many years I've been showing up on shows of yours knows I'm a little bit of a traditionalist on some of my takes when it comes to these characters
yeah,
and in life in general. Um, but Gunn was doing a nature versus nurture argument, and
yeah,
nurture won out. And that
yeah.
element makes nurture winning out more poignant
Mm-hmm.
and more specific. I think it could have been made without it, but I'm not the director. I'm not the screenwriter. It worked for
Yeah,
what Gunn wanted it to do. It's not
yeah,
my preferred take. If I found out in the future that the message was improperly translated or messed with or went through, this warped filter in the engineer's mind as she was downloading it, I would be just fine with that. But I do like the message that it helped cement in this story.
yeah. All right. Where are we at here? Is it for my number
Oh,
two?
you're number two.
My number two is Superman 2.
I can see it. I can see it.
Superman 2. It's well, I don't want to go negative and say I wish that they could had continued, the same thing, same type of movies with Christopher Reeve, but it's that's a great. It's just a. It's a. I like the scene. I like the diner scene when he goes back at the end, and
And
then he
people hate
gives the
that, but I was,
gives the guy money and goes,
yeah,
they'll take care of it. It just, there's some things in it that are they're evident of being from the time when Superman movies or superhero movies weren't taken seriously.
yeah.
But overall,
They weren't
it's
going to be
kind of
dissected and debated and everything else.
yeah,
People thought it touched on this
yeah,
in the podcast we did before. Um, there was a time when movies were just there to entertain you, and
yeah,
filmmakers were putting out something that they thought you'd be entertained by, and it wasn't intended to have think pieces and online, amateur movie critics slice it apart and everything else.
yeah.
And, in some ways, I think that's a little bit better. Maybe it's simpler or whatever else, but like I can get down with that. And Superman 2 is a super entertaining movie. That's what it's in
It's
my top
yeah,
five.
it's I my analogy or my comparison, it's kind of like Spider-Man 2 to the original Spider-Man. It's just there's something.
It
It,
gets to take off a little bit more because so
yeah,
much of the
yeah,
foundational work, there's a lot
yeah,
of heavy lifting that
yeah.
are done in both those first movies.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. So number one,
That
unless
means
you
I
yours
think we
is
both have the
Quest for
same one.
Peace. I think Garret has Quest for Peace.
I tell you what,
So
Bill, there's an alternative universe where Superman 4: The Quest for Peace is
yeah,
absolutely in my top five Superman movies. I know now it's not a well-made movie. I
yeah,
know that. I've
yes.
watched it many times, since I wasn't a little boy anymore. But I tell you what, I did not know that when I was a kid. In the
Hmm.
same way, I didn't know Batman 66 was a campy satire when I was a
Yeah,
kid. I
yeah,
thought that was as real to me, that was as
yeah,
real Batman to me as
yes.
anything could be, quote unquote,
Oh,
real Batman, right?
well, why, why this is why we're here talking about this right now because of
Yeah,
Batman 66 for
yeah.
me. All right, yeah. So number one, it's off Garrett. It's got to be.
Superman the movie,
Oh yeah,
1978.
yeah. I'm with you. That's my
And,
number one.
and I don't know, I don't know if that's just how much nostalgia plays a role into that. I'm sure it's a factor somewhat, but it is so well done. And we would not have the superhero movie, whether we're still in a golden age of superhero movies or not, I
Yeah,
guess is to be debated.
it's
But we
the
wouldn't,
grandfather
yes,
of
we wouldn't have
super of
Batman
no.
89. We wouldn't have
Batman
had,
is probably the father of it. I would
yes,
say this is the
yes.
grandfather.
We certainly wouldn't have X-Men because the Donners were involved in the X-Men
Yeah,
movies. None of that would exist without Superman 78. And people, they laughed at. I mean, the Salkins got those rights for dirt cheap, and they got it
yeah,
for I think 25 years. Warner Brothers was so eager to make that sale because they never
yeah,
imagined Superman was going to work as a live action movie. That's silly stuff. And what Donner brought to the project, very famously, verisimilitude, or verisimilitude, depending on who you ask,
hmm,
just the approach and the slow build of that first act. Krypton, the decision to start with Krypton and not have it move fast, and then move to Smallville and
hmm,
arguably have it move even slower. I mean,
hmm.
before we see Superman in Metropolis, you've watched, I mean, a good chunk of a movie. And I've watched a number of kids' movies with my sons that are shorter than that opening part of Superman before Superman
Hmm.
shows up. And then, just how innovative it was and revolutionary it was from a filmmaking standpoint and special effects. And yeah, how do you, Chris Reeves, just like that casting in the portrayal, really, really special stuff. So Christopher Reeve's still my number one
Hmm.
Superman actor. Cornsweet's right behind him. He jumped over Cavill.
Yeah,
And I
we're on the same
I
page.
loved Cavill from a casting standpoint. Always wanted
Hmm.
better material, but always loved Cavill. In particular, loved what Cavill wanted to do in the future with the character.
Yeah,
But nothing touches Chris.
I was 13 when it came out, just turned 13, and that is, it blew me away that
Yeah,
movie, and I remember seeing it on opening night, and it also as being always being a Batman first fan, I remember even thinking as a kid, it's time I want Batman to get this serious,
sure.
big screen treatment. And
Yeah,
it took 11 years,
yeah.
which at that point seemed like an eternity.
Well,
But my
basically,
gosh, think about
Professor
that.
Uslan went to work essentially just
Yeah,
immediately after
yeah,
Superman
yeah.
came out, and it took that whole time until Batman got released. I think I've shared this on the podcast before. One of my very earliest memories of childhood, it would have been about 3 or 4 years old. My dad had recently gotten new sales and service territory, and we moved out of the Twin Cities area in Minnesota into greater northern Minnesota. And we were staying while we were house hunting at, I think it was his boss's cabin. Like it was just kind of home base. He
Okay.
could start working, and then we were shopping. My
Yeah.
parents were shopping for houses. And they had a screened in patio with a TV on that patio. And ABC, it was a major event, showed Superman the movie
I
in an
remember.
extended edition over the
Yeah.
course of 2 nights. And we sat
Yeah.
on that patio that summer. And
I
that was
remember.
like a major, like that wasn't just like a major, like most of the country was watching that. It was
Yeah.
insane, right? We're
Yeah.
talking back when there's still just, I mean, Fox wasn't even out yet at that point. It was
Yeah.
network TV and appointment viewing network TV. And I remember that distinctly. And I remember it was the first time, I believe it was the first time I watched it. Just being blown away, like
Yeah.
mesmerized. It felt like such a special experience. I remember being a little guy and just being like, I can't believe I get to watch this at my at the
Yeah,
house, you know, like in
yeah.
the comfort of my own home. I get to see this incredible movie. Yeah, blew my mind.
That and we're getting to Batman after this. The helicopter saving Lois scene
Who's
from the
got you?
very beginning. I think at one point we did this on Batman on film, the greatest the scenes of comic book movies, and I think I may have had that ranked number one. But coming out, looking at that 1970s style phone booth, it was just a
Yeah,
phone and looking it up and down, and then all of it, and who's got me, I got you, you got me, who's got you,
yeah,
everything. It was just, it's great, and I love that movie. I mean, it's
me
one of
too.
my favorite movies of all time. All right, we're getting to Batman. James
Here we go.
Gunn.
Batman time.
James Gunn did a hell of an interview with Josh Horowitz on his
Yep.
Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, and I'm going to focus on the Batman stuff, not the Batman, not Matt Reeves, the Batman epic
Yeah,
crime
that also got
saga.
discussed.
Yes, but just Batman on film. How about that?
Yeah, how about
And
that?
what he said about Batman on film. Um, and if anything else comes up, we'll discuss. But with Batman, James Gunn is asked about the script status, and Josh says, we know he's turned it in and you've read it, and et cetera, et cetera. And James Gunn says, I like it. Yes, we're headed in the right direction. So there's some things we still need to work out, but it's headed in the right direction for sure. So
And on
I've seen,
track for its release
yeah,
date in
yeah,
October
I've seen a lot of
2027.
people freak out over that. Like, what is there to work out?
I mean, there's all sorts of stuff to work out. There's all
Exactly.
sort You're producing a major motion
Yeah,
picture. Like, there's a lot to work out. I mean, for all we know, it's where to film the thing, right? How much is it
yeah,
going to be in sound stages? How much is going to be on location, right? Like, uh, I would imagine, uh, I would imagine Matt has the idea of who his crew is going to be. I think there's a lot of returning people, but like, there's a million details to work out when you're making a
yeah.
major motion picture.
It's not work out like that Gunn read it and
Gunn's
go,
going to
well,
rewrite it.
you can't do this because I'm going to use this for DC. They already had the big powwow,
Yeah. Yep.
so
What's
they
in,
won't
what's
step
out.
on each other's toes. And so, yeah, it's just a lot to work out. He said before when he was I think it was on the red carpet for Superman at the premiere. Is like he said, it's great. The script
Yeah.
is great. So I didn't read any negativity into that
No. And
whatsoever.
not to skip topics, but I think, when they're talking about DCU Batman, and he was very quick to say he wouldn't pursue, like, highly, highly, highly unlikely that he would pursue a DCU Batman movie releasing in the same year. So he wants to give this thing time to breathe
Yeah, that's
and
okay.
bask in the
That was on my
spotlight
list
and be its
here.
own thing.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. We'll talk. That was on my list here. He's Josh asked him about it. Would you release them the same year?
Right.
Brave and the Bold, what it's called now. And he said, no, I'm just repeating. So if you want, you got to watch the video for a lot of the context to hear just his facial expressions and how he says stuff,
Yeah.
but he says, probably not. Yeah, probably not. No, probably not the same calendar year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And where do you stand on the Batman part, the Batman saga overlapping with DCU Batman?
It depends what you mean by that. So
Yeah.
I think there's a world. I'm not saying this is what I think they should do,
Yeah.
but I think there's a world where Batman um, can show up in some way in some other project before his
Okay.
DCU feature film's released. I don't know that I would prefer that.
Yeah.
It feels like it might make that movie a little anticlimactic, and you'd have to wonder what Batman's being included and for what reason if they were to introduce him before. He's already been introduced, for the record, with Creature Commandos
Yeah.
and Silhouette.
Yeah.
Um, if they did that, I think I'd be okay with it, right? Like if
Yeah.
Batman shows up for a good reason, whether it's in shadow or a brief cameo or for an important plot beat, but he isn't a co-star of a movie because I think that's watering down the character a little bit,
Hmm.
even more so somehow than a quick cameo would be, or even just a small part. I think that'd be fine if that happened before the end of whatever, Matt Reeves has planned with the
Hmm.
Batman. I would not want to see a DCU solo feature Batman film. It's solo. Yeah, we think we're probably getting Robin, so it's not really solo. But I wouldn't want that movie to come out during the Batman. I think it's unnecessarily confusing. Would audiences show up for both? I think they
Yeah.
probably would. Batman's got that gravitas, but like the the presence of both sort of would diminish both in my view,
I,
and I'd
I,
like to
I
see them
agree.
avoid that.
With Superman being the success that it is, I've said let let the Man of Steel shoulder the
Yeah.
DCU
Yeah, the way it should
shared
be, quite
universe
frankly.
load right now. It's not like you're not getting Batman on film live action content. You're getting
Right.
that.
That itch is being
Um,
scratched. And if anything,
yeah,
I mean, I don't, not that audiences need to be convinced to show up for Batman, but if anything, it would make sure that people really show up for the Batman, the epic
yeah,
crime saga movies and
yeah,
not like, oh, I'm getting my Batman fix over here, so I don't really need to do that. Maybe I'll wait for streaming or, whatever else, pick it up on video on demand. I don't think it'd be a smart decision to do that. And it doesn't seem like, whether or not, I'll say this, Bill, if it takes another 5 years between part
hmm
two and a part three,
hmm.
I don't know if they can hold their water that long.
Well, I'm with you. I will say the reason for the five, it was originally a three
No,
year
yeah, yep.
difference. We
Wasn't a
know that.
planned 5 year. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Strikes and some
the
personal stuff.
strikes and yes, yeah, absolutely. Then you had the Penguin, which
Right.
kind of was the sort of sequel to
It
the
was a
Batman
sequel.
in a way. Yeah,
It was a sequel. Batman
and
wasn't in
there's a
it, but
lot of people that found the Batman through the Penguin
oh
and
yeah.
now are ready for who went back and saw the Batman and want to see the story continue. All right,
Yeah, I
this is
I was
yeah,
listening to this podcast. Tell him Steve, Dave, Ryan Haas listened
yeah,
to it. Kevin Smith's friends from when he was a
yeah,
kid, and one of the guys that used to work for him, who now is a massive star um, on Impractical Jokers. We're talking Brian Quinn.
yeah,
We're talking about it. And Brian Quinn, when the Batman came out, wasn't a fan. He's like, I
yeah,
just don't like that. It's not really my style. I kind of want to have a little bit
yeah,
more fun
yeah,
action adventure Batman. And he loved the Penguin. This was just on their most recent episode. Talked about how much he loved the Penguin, and it made him go back and rewatch the Batman. And he walked away liking the Batman so much more than he did the first time.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
they got a good thing going.
Here is the interesting topic that based on a question that Josh proposed to Gunn and what he said. He said basically, I said, what filmmaker do you want to see join the DCU? And he thought and he thought and he said Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves.
And Josh says, well, you already have him. He said, well, he's not DCU.
Right.
And then Josh said, well, have y'all had it? Did y'all talk about it? He goes, yeah, yeah, of course we've talked about it.
Right.
Um,
I think some of those questions are so silly. Like the same thing
yeah,
around, did you ever consider, just merging Pattinson's Batman into the
okay,
DCU?
okay,
It's like, well,
okay.
yeah, of
We're getting
course.
there.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course we considered it. Like what
yeah.
you would have to have the
You would have to.
conversation,
Yeah,
even if it's short-lived and it's like, hey man, I think I know where you're at. I think I know where I'm at, but we
yeah,
gotta think this through. What do you think about just bringing him
yeah,
in? And
yeah,
Matt says, "Nah, I'd like to kind of do my own thing." He's like,
yeah,
that's cool. I'd kind of like to do my own thing. So now let's just make sure we don't step on each other's toes." Of That's discussing it. That's
yeah.
what discussing it looks like,
Because
right?
you know, I call the Batman and the Penguin and the saga is an inconvenient
For
big
sure.
success
Yep.
for Brothers slash DC Studios.
Yep.
And it's got I it's got to be tough for them because
It's a fascinating thing to think
you
through.
want you want to be in business with Matt Reeves.
Sure do.
If you're Warner Brothers, because he's doing other stuff along with Warner Brothers, is not part of the, the DC Studios sub branch of Warner Brothers. And the way they've lost filmmakers,
They got to keep their people, you know.
you don't want to let a Matt Reeves go
No. And he
because
mentions Greta Gerwig too. Like, like
yeah,
you have some of
exactly.
these,
Ryan
you have
Coogler
some
as
of
well.
these,
Yeah,
Ryan Coogler, yeah. You have some of these directors who are capable of delivering big
yeah, yeah.
blockbuster. There we go. Got it up.
Yes,
Box
yeah,
office hits, blockbusters, but have a little bit more of a personal edge. It's not just superficial. They're
yeah,
bringing something deeper to it.
yeah,
Reeves does that in spades, right? He has a
yeah.
voice, he has something to say, and he delivers big blockbuster movies.
Hmm.
Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah,
He can do that commercial fare. That sort of not a job that for a different director would be a director for hire, right? Like, hey, we
yes,
need to make this
yeah,
movie. Mick G was a
yes,
guy like that back in the day.
yeah,
Brett
yeah,
Ratner was a guy like that back in
yeah,
the day. I would say like Tim Story. There's probably anybody who made a comic book movie in
yeah,
like the early 2000s that
yeah,
wasn't Bryan Singer. Those were almost all director for hire, and they can produce that movie, but it's
yeah,
not going to be as rich or deep as what some of these directors are capable of doing
yeah,
right now. And if you've got one of them, you don't want to lose them.
yeah. So there's got to be, man, it's got to be a tightrope. And I'll
Yep.
say this. I'll say this. I'm curious, like, what what would Gunn like to see Matt Reeves direct in the DCU? And I'll throw this out at you. The only way I would even possibly slightly say I'll consider it when it comes to the Batman saga world, Reeves's Batman being folded into the DCU, is if Matt Reeves was a producer on anything that Pattinson was involved in
100%.
with creative input and creative decision
100%.
making.
And that
Yeah,
was largely Christian Bale's position when they first approached him all those years
yeah,
ago
yeah.
about continuing on. And I can't remember what project. Maybe it was the first thoughts around when they were going to make a BV
Oh,
at Batman versus
yes,
Superman before Man of
yeah,
Steel, I think. And his position was, yeah, if Chris is involved and he has signed off on the ideas and has blessed it and is a producer, I'd do it. Wouldn't do it without him. So I think so, right? Because if we, as we're kind of fond of saying around these parts, that's to some level you need the studio to kind of make the hiring decision and stay out of the way if at all possible to let the creatives
yeah,
create.
yeah,
If Matt Reeves said, "Yeah, I've told the story I want to tell, and now we can transition through whatever storytelling mechanism, but
yeah,
I want to have my DNA in there still." Fine.
yeah,
Who am I to argue?
yeah.
I'm just a sucker that shells out tickets or money for tickets and then
My
talks about
my
it with my pals on the
preference,
internet.
yeah, my preference is that my preference is the saga finishes, then we move on to DCU Batman, and it lasts as long as it can. I'm of the belief, I don't know if I'll throw this out at you. I think I told Pete. I think the DCU Batman is the last incarnation of Batman on film that we're going to get for a
Yeah,
while.
it might be, Bill. It might be. I listened to that episode, and as I typically do when I'm listening to podcasts that my friends are on, I find myself joining in on the conversation,
Yeah.
like to myself with my headphones on. It could be. I could also see Warner Brothers saying, Batman is different. Batman is special.
Yeah.
We have this long, rich history, going all the way back to Tim Burton. And you can say what
Hmm.
you want about Schumacher, but at least, Batman Forever. And then on to Chris's work, and then on to Matt's work, where standalone Batman stories are something the audience responds to and
Hmm.
have done well
Hmm.
for us. And Batman might always have, I shouldn't say always, but there could be a place for standalone Batman movies that exist
Yeah.
in a non-fantastical world. And hopefully the Elseworlds banner is actually a thing and it
Yeah.
sticks around and you can
I hope
have that.
so. I mean,
because
I would hate. Yeah,
I think audiences love and appreciate certainly the Dark Knight trilogy, right?
I think they're used to Batman coming in different takes and being
Yes.
now it's on like okay, it's this director, it's this actor, we're doing this story, and then
Yeah,
we'll get
this
another back.
particular story, this
And you can
particular
do that with
iteration.
Batman. You can do that
Yes.
with Batman. I mean, honestly, it's hard to do with Superman
It was very hard. Well, I
because
mean,
yeah,
and we've got a different view of it from being a little bit, I don't want to say nerdier, but more
yeah,
engaged in this stuff than the general audience. All you have to do is look at DC's Elseworlds comic book catalog.
yeah,
It is predominantly Batman. It's
yeah. And
predominantly different, and
I
there's
guess
some
I
different
mean,
Superman takes, but Batman as
yeah,
a character is more malleable. You can do more with it.
exactly what I was going to say. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
So
So
I can see that.
yeah,
It'd be great if they said, "Hey, we've got our DCU, and that's going to be that for a long time." And I hope it isn't. I hope the DCU doesn't make what I would say some of the mistakes the MCU has made. There should be finite blocks of storytelling, and then have I would like an in-story way to reset that
yeah,
universe and kind of do a James Bond thing where you can bring in somebody else and movies separated from like our passage of time compared to the
yeah.
movie universe
Man, it's tough.
passage of time.
It's tough with shared universes to reboot a whole shared
Yep.
universe. I
Yeah,
mean, you're
because you
kind of
end up
sort of doing it now with, you know what I'm saying, with the DCU compared to the old DCEU,
yeah.
but it's
And
just
you
it's
end up needing to
Marvel's
have an
finding that,
event film.
yeah, yeah,
You end up needing to have an event film that essentially does like a 0 hour or a Crisis on Infinite
yeah,
Earths, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
but I would hate to see them move entirely away from telling Batman stories the way movie audiences are
What
used to them telling
my
Batman
fear
stories.
is, I think there's a little more to how the public domain, Batman
Mm,
going to the public domain is going to affect um, Warner Brothers and DC and Batman and Superman as
yeah.
well.
I tell you what, there's a
Uh,
world where Warner Brothers just makes, DCU Batman and Paramount decides, they just can't hold back and they're going to make a 1939 Batman movie series and Warner Brothers can't do a dang thing to stop them.
I'm if you're
And that's
watching
best
it,
case
yeah,
scenario. That's
yeah.
best case scenario. Worst case scenario is one of these crappy little horror franchise
Oh, like that Winnie the
studios,
Pooh
yeah, that
nonsense. Yeah,
Lauer and Peter will watch. They decide they want to make a Batman
yeah,
serial killer movie, right?
yeah,
Like that's just insane. It's
yeah.
insane to me.
All right, we're gonna get out of here. But anything else from that James Gunn said in that interview, not Batman exclusive, that piqued your interest or you think is worth mentioning here before we finish up?
I tell you what, I got a hard time with a lot of internet fan casting rumors.
Yeah,
Most of them are terrible. Most fans just they're
yeah,
not casting directors for a reason, right? They're like
exactly.
it's just like too obvious or not nuanced or just absurd. Do you watch Reacher on Prime?
I've seen it, and I know who you're referring to.
Alan
Rick
Richson.
Richardson. Yeah,
Uh, Reacher is fantastic. It might be my
yeah,
favorite television show that's going on right now. And it is so fun. Every single episode is fun. I when I'm watching that, when a new season comes out, I have to like pace myself to not burn my way through it.
okay,
And you know, so fan casting for him as Bruce Wayne Batman was
yeah,
a big thing. I think he might, well, who knows? He can play younger than he is, but I think he and I are around the same age. So like by the time they get to these, he might not be the right age. But I love that Gunn said he was a big fan of him, both as
yeah,
an actor and a person. They'll wait and see what
yeah,
happens. He's so big. He's so jacked. He's got like, and he can act. He has
yeah,
charisma. He can, even in Reacher, which is a role that's essentially designed to be without charisma, it is just physical presence, and he says very
yeah,
little. He does such a good job making that character likable that I'm like, this is a dude that should be in the DC universe. I don't know if he should be Batman. I could tell you I wouldn't be mad if he was.
yeah,
But when he mentioned him, my ears did perk up a little bit. Like that's pretty cool. And Richard's a huge Batman fan, so it's, I don't know if he's right for Batman. I'll leave that up to, Gunn or Muschietti or whoever the hell gets to make that call. But I think it'd be cool to have him in the DC universe.
It's we've had some really, really excellent thespians play Batman, Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It'd be.
from
I
you know,
wouldn't put Alan in
yeah,
that tier.
and I'm not trying to say anything
Nope.
negative about him,
Hey,
but
that dude's in incredible physical shape.
yeah,
If I had to choose between being a really good actor or having that physique, I'd pick that physique. So no slight on him.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like
but like
that's just
with
fine.
Bale and Pattinson, Keaton,
Shoot Clooney at the wrong
P-
point in his career,
Clooney, but Clooney's
He hadn't shaken
Kilmer
off
is
some
a
of
hell.
his
Kilmer is a hell
Kilmer.
was a hell of an actor.
Incredible.
It's just so yeah, I'm gonna
I
give
do
Reacher some more views.
you gotta sit in and
Yeah,
watch it. It's so
yeah,
good. It is so good. But I do like, just kind of still on Batman. Not looking for campy. I think what we first heard was, Brave and the Bold one. I bet money that's not the title by the time this
yeah,
thing comes out in theaters, just like Superman Legacy wasn't the name of
yeah.
Superman. But I think the early rumblings were more comedic, maybe not
Mm-hmm.
slapstick, but like
Mm-hmm.
action adventure, kind of some jokes tone. And he's refuted that a number of times. Like
Yeah.
it's
He
not
said,
that.
I don't want a goofy Batman.
Right. Right.
But
Yeah,
he wants to
but
put
a distinct
dude,
take, not
I
gritty
don't
noir,
yeah. I don't
but
know
not
if he
camp.
can help himself not having a Batmite show up in
Yeah.
a
Well,
Batman
I
movie.
I also, he didn't come out and say it on this podcast, but Mr. Mixel-Pidlick, I'm with Peter. I think that
Yeah.
that was, that was the interdimensional imp that we saw, the Justice Gang fighting in one of his iterations, at least in my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, at some point, if Batman comes around to this world, a Batmite is not, it's not too absurd. But I also think about like, there's been this conversation around what role does Batman have? What's his place? What's the reason
Yeah.
for him?
Yeah.
And Reeves talks about, or sorry, Gunn talks about that specifically. It can't just be because he's popular, and we gotta make some of that back cash.
And he does note he's noted that Batman is the most popular.
Yep,
It's the number one character at Warner Brothers slash DC Studios.
in likely the
And
world.
he's probably the most popular superhero there is.
Right,
You have
right.
an argument about Spider-Man.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But I think in my mind, where I see the opening, if James, if you're listening, and you want to hire me away, I could get out of supply chain leadership and into filmmaking. But my thing is just like you have this world, right? This DC universe that these movies are taking place in.
Mm-hmm.
There are interdimensional space rifts and pocket universes and kaiju and interdimensional or imps and all of this. Uh, those are huge reality shaking, earth shaking things that need to be dealt with. And there's superheroes in this world that can deal with those things. But you know what's still probably happening? Muggings, bank
Yeah.
robberies,
Yeah.
serial killers, a whole lot of stuff that's down to earth that isn't the fantastical. But if Superman and Green Lanterns and the Wonder Womans of the world are off dealing with these, reality threatening
Yeah.
aspects and fantastical things, there's probably room for a more street level detective, ninja type guy to take on the threats of a more, organized crime or whatever else, right? Like
Yeah.
there's room for that because it's not like, you know, the only thing going on in this world is the, you know,
Yeah.
interdimensional dragons, whatever, threatening all of
Yeah.
existence. Like somebody's
Yeah.
out there, gunning down a family after they get out of the movie theater, and there's a Batman to deal with that.
Yeah. All right. That's a good way to end it. Um, do you want to plug anything? Go ahead. I know your most recent work on Batman on Film is that Superman podcast.
Yeah, it's pretty fresh. We actually recorded it opening weekend. You can listen to me there. I'm joined by my fellow senior contributor, Ryan Haas, Justin Kowalski, and Trey Jackson. We're all on that one. We recorded it the Saturday of opening weekend. The file was like super jacked up, and we had tried to figure out how to schedule a re-recording, and in that meantime, Justin Kowalski worked his digital magic and rescued it. So we were able to publish it, just over a week and a half for when it was actually recorded. So it's likely when this drops, just the last show that's on the BOF podcast feed.
Yeah.
So check me out there. And then, I've got a number of different appearances from either hosting the original BOF show or on the social hour. We've got some stuff, even if you're still looking for some Superman talk, you can go back and listen to some old episodes that have some Superman in there too. Otherwise, follow me over at Twitter or X. I still call it Twitter. I think Bill does too.
Yes.
I'm at Garret Wato, at GarretWato.
All right. For me, you're already here. Batman on Film. So there you go. So with that said, announcer Rachel will take us out. We'll catch you next time.
You have been listening to the BOF Social Hour, Jett's official podcast on Batman on Film. Follow BOF on Threads at The Batman on Film. Follow BOF on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Batman on Film. To help keep BOF up and running, go to patreon.com/BatmanOnFilm, or you can buy BOF a beer at buymeacoffee.com/TheRealBatmanOnFilm. For Jett and everyone at BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Authoritative, definitive, the original, Batman on Film, founded in 1998.
Found places filled from Batman fans. It's been around songs since '98 began. Roll with the news and all the reviews. It's the go-to place to take the Gotham blues. Got a cape and cowl on knees and high. That man on film, so glad it's alive. That man on film, you feel us so. From Gotham City to the battlefield roll. That man on film, ever strong. Feels like home where we all belong. Lights out, we're seeing the latest flick. Nothing like a sight that gives us that kick. We keep it to bail, the icons we hail. Never miss a beat on the bat scene of trail. Turn the page, let the journey begin. That man been wearing that baby. Where we all been Batman on film. You thrill us so. From Gotham City to the battlefield roll. That man on film, living strong. Feels like home where we all belong. In a world full of shadows, you bring light to a song. Every post and follow to the call. That man on film, you thrill us so. From Gotham City to the battlefield roll. That man on film, living strong. Feels like home